last month, Lonnie, I'm so jealous, had the chance to interview the godmother of country music, Miss Dolly Parton.
Beloved country music icon Dolly Parton has spent decades dazzling audiences with her warmth, talent, and unstoppable spirit. But behind the sparkling smile and legendary success, troubling reports are now raising serious concerns about her health and future. Fans across the world are fearing the worst as whispers of a tragic diagnosis continue gaining attention. So, could this heartbreaking chapter change everything for the woman who became a symbol of hope, resilience, and joy? And what is happening behind the scenes of one of entertainment's stars? Hope amid silence. For the past 8 months, fans of country music all over the world have been living with a mix of worry, confusion, and endless guessing. Every time a planned appearance was canceled or an event was quietly postponed, the concern grew stronger. Even official statements from Dolly Parton's team, though carefully written and calm, seemed to raise more questions than they answered. Nothing was clearly explained, and that silence created space for fear and speculation to grow. Many people kept hoping it was nothing serious. They told themselves she was simply resting or taking time off. But deep inside, a large number of fans could not ignore the feeling that something more important might be going on behind the scenes. When someone like Dolly Parton suddenly steps back from public life, it does not go unnoticed. She is not just an entertainer who sings songs and performs on stage. Over the years, she has become a global symbol of joy, strength, kindness, and comfort. Her music has been part of weddings, childhood memories, family gatherings, and quiet moments of healing for decades. Her personality, full of humor, warmth, and honesty, has made her feel like a familiar friend to millions of people who have never met her in person. So when that bright, familiar presence became quiet, the silence felt heavy. Fans everywhere started to feel that something was missing from the world of music and entertainment. As the weeks went by, rumors began to spread quickly online. Social media platforms were filled with guesses about her health and her future. Some posts claimed she was seriously ill, while others insisted she would never return to performing. Many of these claims were unverified, but in the absence of clear information, they spread even faster. Fans found themselves caught between fear and hope, refreshing their phones for any real update. Through it all, one truth stood out clearly. People deeply love her and genuinely care about her well-being. Then, after months of silence and speculation, the wait finally ended. In a deeply emotional video shared from her home, the 80-year-old music legend chose to speak directly to her fans. The moment the video went live, it immediately drew attention across the country music world and beyond. People stopped what they were doing just to hear her voice again. Calm and composed, Dolly explained that she wanted to give an honest update about what has been happening in her life, especially regarding her health. Before going into details, she paused and shared a line that instantly caught everyone's attention. With her usual warmth and honesty, she said she had some good news and a little bad news. The good news brought a wave of relief to millions of worried fans. She reassured everyone that she has been responding well to treatment and medication. Even more encouraging, she shared that she is getting better little by little, day by day. For those who had spent months worrying in silence, hearing those words directly from her felt like a burden lifted off their hearts. More than just a health update, it was a moment of emotional comfort. Seeing her familiar smile, hearing her steady voice, and feeling her strong spirit again reminded everyone why she is so loved. Despite the challenges she is facing, Dolly Parton remains the same determined, hopeful, and resilient woman the world has always known, still fighting, still hopeful, and, in her own words, still moving forward step by step. What did Dolly reveal about her health? How composed was she while presenting the heartbreaking story? Let's delve into the details of the painful truth behind her health battle. The disturbing truth. As the video continued, however, the mood became much more serious. Dolly admitted that while she is improving, recovery is taking far longer than expected. She explained that she is still nowhere near ready to return to performing on stage. The medications and treatments she currently depends on have been leaving her dizzy, weak, exhausted, and mentally foggy. Using one of her grandmother's old sayings, she joked that the treatments sometimes make her feel swamy-headed. Even during such an emotional moment, her famous humor still managed to shine through. But behind the jokes was a heartbreaking reality. This was not simply exhaustion or a temporary illness. Her body has been quietly battling several serious health problems at the same time. She revealed that she has struggled with painful kidney stone incidents for years. Alongside that, both her immune system and digestive system have been severely affected in recent years, leaving her physically drained and exhausted. The combination of these overlapping health issues, together with the medications needed to treat them, has made live performances impossible for now. To explain her situation to fans in the most Dolly Parton way possible, she compared herself to an old classic car being restored. She said that when people first look at the car, it still seems beautiful and full of life. But once the hood is raised, mechanics discover the engine needs rebuilding, the transmission is slipping, the oil pan is leaking, and several important parts need replacing. Then, with perfect comic timing, she added that her spark plugs especially need fixing because she can't lose her spark. The joke made fans smile through tears. Behind that humor, however, was the painful truth that one of the world's most energetic entertainers is now facing the difficult realities of aging, illness, and physical limitations. Then came another heartbreaking announcement. Her highly anticipated Las Vegas residency at Caesars Palace has now officially been canceled permanently. The shows were originally planned for last year before being postponed to this year. Fans had continued hoping the concerts would eventually happen, but now those hopes have been crushed completely. Within minutes of the video being released, ticket holders reportedly began receiving refund and cancellation notices. Dolly sincerely apologized to fans who had planned trips to Las Vegas just to see her perform. She encouraged them to still enjoy themselves and expressed hope that perhaps they would meet again somewhere down the road. But the cancellation means far more than just missed concerts. For the first time in more than 50 years, there is currently not a single scheduled Dolly Parton concert anywhere in the world. That reality alone has left many fans emotional. So, which other heartbreaking thing happened to Dolly? How was she able to cope? Let's dig into the details of another tragic story picked from Dolly's message. Health struggles revealed. Perhaps the most emotional revelation in Dolly's message had nothing to do with medicine or canceled shows. For the first time publicly, she admitted that she had neglected her own health for years while caring for her beloved late husband, Carl Dean. Carl passed away last year after nearly 60 years of marriage. Their relationship remained famously private throughout the decades, but their love for each other was undeniable. Dolly explained that during his final years, she poured nearly all her strength and energy into caring for him. She stayed by his side through sickness and pain, often putting her own health aside in the process. The emotional weight of losing a life partner after nearly 6 decades together is almost impossible to imagine. Grief alone can completely drain a person emotionally and physically. Combined with her ongoing medical struggles, the burden she has been carrying becomes even more heartbreaking. Yet despite everything, her spirit still remains unbroken. In one of the most inspiring moments of the video, Dolly revealed that her doctors believe all her conditions are treatable. She said she trusts them fully and is choosing to hold tightly onto hope. Most importantly, she made it clear that she is not giving up. She is not walking away from music, creativity, or purpose. In fact, she confirmed that she is still actively working on her upcoming Broadway production, Dolly, an original musical. The show will tell the incredible story of her life and career, and she revealed that she has been spending much of her time writing, revising, and perfecting the production. It is expected to debut in New York City later this year. At 80 years old, while facing grief, illness, and physical exhaustion, Dolly continues to move forward with remarkable courage. She remains guided by the same faith, strength, humor, and determination that carried her from humble beginnings to worldwide fame. More than just a music legend, Dolly Parton has become a symbol of resilience, kindness, and generosity. From building Dollywood into a major attraction supporting thousands of jobs, to donating millions toward education and medical research, she has spent her life helping others. Now, millions of fans around the world are praying that the woman who has inspired generations can fully regain her strength and continue shining her light for many more years to come. What was Dolly Parton's love story like? How did she meet the love of her life? Let's dig into the details of the simple meeting in Nashville that changed everything. Quiet love story. Dolly Parton arrived in Nashville on a sunny Saturday morning, just one day after finishing high school at Sevier County High School. She was not famous yet. She was just a young girl with big dreams, leaving home with a small suitcase, a strong heart, and hope that life would be better in the city of music. Her first stop in Nashville was not a stage or a studio. It was something very ordinary, the wishy-washy laundromat. There, she washed her clothes like any other new arrival in the city. It was a simple moment, but it marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life. She was stepping into a world she barely knew, full of challenges, waiting opportunities, and unknown paths. After finishing her laundry, she stepped out to get a cold drink. It was in that quiet, normal moment that something unexpected happened. A young man named Carl Thomas Dean, a local man from Nashville, drove past and noticed her standing outside. He stopped and called out to her in a light, friendly way. He even joked and warned her about getting sunburned because of what she was wearing. That small, casual comment opened the door to conversation. They talked briefly, without pressure or planning. There was no crowd, no music, no spotlight, just two strangers meeting by chance on an ordinary street. But something about that moment felt different, even if neither of them fully understood it yet. It was simple, honest, and natural. That short meeting became the start of a lifelong story. 2 years later, on May 30th, 1966, Dolly and Carl got married in Ringgold, Georgia. The wedding was very small and private, nothing like the bright public world Dolly would later step into. Even as her music career grew and she became known around the world, she chose to keep her married life separate. She often used her stage name, Dolly Parton, even though her legal documents sometimes included Dolly Parton Dean. Carl Dean was a very private man. He worked in the asphalt paving business and stayed far away from fame. Unlike many celebrity couples, he rarely appeared in public with Dolly. In fact, Dolly once shared that he only attended one of her performances. He preferred a quiet life, away from cameras and attention. Still, their bond remained strong. Their relationship was built on understanding, trust, and space for individuality. Carl would sometimes visit Dollywood quietly, walking around like any other guest, enjoying the place without drawing attention. In a world full of noise, cameras, and fame, their love story stood out because it was quiet. It was not built on public attention, but on private respect and a simple connection. But what was her marriage to Carl Dean like? Did the couple share a public life? Let's talk about a private world behind fame. Quiet, enduring love. Even though Dolly Parton became one of the most famous entertainers in the world, her marriage to Carl Dean stayed very private and deeply grounded. While millions knew Dolly as a bright, larger-than-life performer with glittering outfits and unforgettable songs, her home life told a very different story. Simple, calm, and intentionally kept away from public attention. Carl Dean never liked the spotlight. He avoided cameras, interviews, and events that would draw attention to him. While Dolly traveled across countries, performing on huge stages and meeting fans everywhere, Carl preferred the quiet life in Nashville. He was not interested in fame, and he protected his privacy strongly. This balance between a public star and a private partner became one of the quiet strengths of their marriage. Behind closed doors, however, their relationship was full of warmth, laughter, and affection. Dolly often spoke about Carl with deep respect and love, describing him as someone with a gentle and romantic heart in his own unique way. He didn't show love through public gestures or flashy displays. Instead, he expressed it in small but meaningful actions, surprising her in thoughtful ways, sharing jokes that only they understood, and even writing private poems for her. Their love was built on friendship, trust, humor, and the freedom to be themselves. Dolly once shared a simple but powerful reflection about their bond. "We're really very proud of our marriage. It's the first for both of us, and the last." That statement captured not only their loyalty, but also their commitment to staying together through all of life's changes without seeking attention from the world. In the early 1970s, the couple settled into a long-term home on about 75 acres of land in Brentwood, Tennessee. This home was not just bought, it was carefully built with love and teamwork. Carl Dean worked alongside Dolly's uncle, Dot Watson, and her brothers to construct the house between 1970 and 1971. Later, they added a guest house, expanding the space into a peaceful family retreat. Over time, their home became a symbol of shared effort, patience, and stability. Even though they did not have children of their own, Dolly and Carl played a loving and active role in their extended family. They helped raise younger relatives and became deeply loved by nieces and nephews who affectionately called them Uncle Peepaw and Aunt Granny. These nicknames became so meaningful that one even inspired the name of a restaurant at Dollywood, reflecting how personal their family life truly was. Dolly also became the godmother of Miley Cyrus, continuing her influence into the next generation of artists. After more than 50 years of marriage, Carl Dean passed away on March 3, 2025, in Nashville at the age of 82. His passing marked the end of a quiet but powerful love story, one that never relied on fame, but instead thrived on loyalty, privacy, and a lifelong commitment built far away from the spotlight. Where was Dolly Parton born? What was her early years like? Let's delve into the details of Dolly Parton's faith journey. Gratitude, growth, race. Dolly Parton's life story is often told through her music, her success, and her generosity. But beneath all of that is something quieter and deeply personal, her faith. It is not loud or forced, but steady, like a guiding light that has followed her since childhood. She was raised in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, in a simple Christian home where faith was not just something people talked about on Sundays, but something lived every day. Church was a central part of life, and gospel music filled her world. The values she learned early, kindness, prayer, hope, and thankfulness, became the foundation of her character. Even as a child, she was surrounded by stories from the Bible and songs that spoke about God's love and mercy. These early experiences stayed with her and later shaped many of her songs, which often carry messages of hope, forgiveness, and strength during hard times. As Dolly grew older and stepped into fame, her understanding of faith began to change and deepen. Life on the road, success in the music industry, and personal experiences taught her that belief is not always about strict rules or labels. Instead, she began to see faith in a broader way. While she still respects her Christian roots, she does not always describe herself as religious in a formal sense. For her, faith has become more personal, more flexible, and more connected to everyday living. In a 2024 interview with New Humanist, she spoke with honesty about this journey. She explained that her belief is strongly tied to gratitude and self-trust. She believes in her own path, in the lessons life has taught her, and in the unseen strength that helps her keep going even during difficult moments. Rather than focusing only on religious structure, she places value on the feeling of being thankful for life itself. A big part of her spiritual outlook also comes from people. Dolly often speaks about how important relationships have been in her life. She credits her family, especially her Uncle Bill, for shaping her early dreams and supporting her talents. Beyond her family, she also draws inspiration from the many people she has met along the way. Friends, fans, and strangers who showed her kindness at different points in her journey. To her, these human connections are a reflection of goodness in the world and a reminder that love and support often come through people. In the end, Dolly Parton's faith is not limited to a single definition. It lives in her gratitude for each day, her respect for others, and her belief that life, even with its challenges, carries meaning and blessings. It is a faith expressed not only in words, but in how she lives, gives, and continues to hope. What was Dolly Parton's family like? What legacy will she leave behind for her fans? Let's dive into the details of a close-knit family of 12 children. A mountain-born legacy. Dolly Parton was born into one of the most lively and tightly connected families in rural Tennessee. She was the fourth child in a household that would eventually grow to 12 children, all born to Avi Lee, Caroline Parton, née Owens, and Robert Lee Parton Sr., who was fondly called Lee. Their home was not just crowded, it was full of movement, sound, laughter, tears, and deep human connection. Life was often hard, but it was also filled with love that held everyone together. The Parton children grew up as a strong sibling group, each one walking their own path, yet all sharing the same mountain roots and humble beginnings. The eldest was Willa Dean, who naturally helped carry responsibility in the family. Then came David Wilburn, who lived a long life until 2024. After him were Coy Denver and Robert Lee, Bobby, followed by Stella Mae Parton, who, like Dolly, later stepped into the world of music and performance. Cassie Nan came next, adding her own presence to a home that never lacked activity or noise. As the family continued to grow, more children joined the already busy household. Randall Houston, Randy, who passed away in 2021, was one of the younger boys. Larry Gerald was born in 1955, and later the family welcomed twins, Frida Estelle and Floyd Estelle. Life for the twins, like the rest of the children, was shaped by both joy and struggle. Floyd later passed away in 2018. The youngest of all was Rachel Ann, who would later become known publicly as Rachel Parton George. Daily life in the Parton home was far from quiet or easy. With 12 children living under one roof, everything required teamwork. Simple tasks like cooking, cleaning, and getting ready for the day needed patience and cooperation. There was rarely enough money for comfort, but there was always a shared sense of responsibility and togetherness that helped them manage. Even though the family faced poverty, their home was rich in something far more lasting: warmth, creativity, and emotional strength. Music was not just entertainment, it was part of everyday life. Singing, playing instruments, and telling stories were common ways the family expressed themselves and stayed connected. Church also played a big role, shaping their values and giving them hope. This large family background deeply influenced Dolly Parton's character and outlook on life. Growing up among so many siblings taught her the value of sharing, hard work, and resilience. More importantly, it shaped her lifelong belief in family unity, kindness, and the ability to rise above hardship without losing love or joy along the way. Where was her family located? What kind of family gave birth? Let's dive into the details of the roots of a legend. Smoky Mountain roots. From the time she was a little girl, Dolly Parton grew up surrounded by music. Her home was always alive with singing, clapping, laughter, and the joyful sounds of church hymns. Every week, her family attended a small Pentecostal church where faith and music were part of everyday life. At only 6 years old, Dolly began singing in front of people during church services. Even though she was still very young, her voice carried deep emotion that touched those listening. People quickly noticed there was something special about her. By the age of 7, she was already creating music with simple homemade instruments. Then, at 8 years old, an uncle gave her very first real guitar, a gift that would quietly shape the future of a little girl who would one day become a global music legend. It was a simple place, made of rough wood and thin walls, where nature seemed to press closely in on daily life. She arrived as the fourth child in a family that would eventually grow to 12 children, all raised in a world shaped by hard work, deep faith, and an unbreakable sense of togetherness. Life in the Parton home was not easy. Her father, Robert Lee Parton Sr., often called Lee, worked wherever he could find opportunity. He farmed small patches of land, grew tobacco as a sharecropper, and took on construction jobs when they came. He never learned to read or write, yet he was known for his sharp instincts and practical wisdom, especially when it came to survival and making the most of very little. His strength was quiet, but steady, holding the family together through uncertain times. Her mother, Dolly Parton, carried an even heavier daily burden. Raising 12 children in poverty required constant effort, patience, and creativity. Despite frequent illness and financial hardship, she filled their home with warmth. She told stories, sang old Appalachian songs, and passed down traditional ballads that had been carried through generations. In her voice, music became both comfort and connection, a way of turning struggle into something beautiful. From a very young age, Dolly's world was filled with sound, singing, humming, clapping, and church music. The family attended a Pentecostal church, where faith and music were deeply intertwined. At just 6 years old, Dolly began singing in public during church gatherings. Her voice, small but full of feeling, quickly stood out. By the age of 7, she was already experimenting with homemade instruments, and at 8, she received her first real guitar from an uncle, a moment that quietly changed her life forever. Even though the Parton family lived in extreme poverty, Dolly often described it as being dirt poor. Their home was rich in love, laughter, and shared survival. Food was simple, space was tight, but affection was constant. Children learned to share, to care for one another, and to find joy in small things. That one-room cabin, though humble, became a place filled with memories that would later shape Dolly's most heartfelt songs, including Coat of Many Colors and My Tennessee Mountain Home. As the family eventually moved to a slightly larger home on Locust Ridge, life remained simple and closely tied to the land. The Smoky Mountains were not just a backdrop to her childhood, they were part of her identity. The sights, sounds, and struggles of those early years stayed with her, planting the seeds of imagination, resilience, and storytelling that would later grow into a remarkable musical journey. So, when did Dolly reach stardom? How did it change? Let's dig into the details of the making of a star, from the mountain to childhood. From mountains to stardom. Dolly Parton's early life began in the quiet, remote hills of the Great Smoky Mountains, where life was simple but very hard. She grew up in a large family living off a small farm, where every day was about survival. Money was scarce, and comfort was rare. One of the most striking stories from her childhood is how her father once paid the doctor who helped deliver her with a sack of cornmeal instead of money. To many, this shows just how poor they were. But to Dolly, it also reflects the resourcefulness and dignity of her family in difficult times. Even though life was tough, her home was full of warmth, laughter, and imagination. The Parton family did not have much, but they had music, stories, and strong family bonds. These things helped Dolly see beauty, even in poverty, and gave her a deep emotional world that she would later turn into songs loved by millions. Church was another powerful part of her childhood. Her grandfather, a Pentecostal preacher, played a major role in shaping the family's spiritual life. For young Dolly, church was more than worship. It was her first real stage. It was there she learned how to sing with feeling, how to hold an audience, and how music could touch people's hearts. These early experiences helped her develop the natural confidence and stage presence that would later make her a global star. At one point, her family moved to a small 2-room cabin on Locust Ridge. Despite its simplicity, Dolly often remembered this place with joy. Surrounded by the beauty of the mountains, she listened closely to the sounds of nature, the voices of her family, and the stories shared around her. The rhythms of mountain life, the struggles, the humor, and the faith all became part of her imagination. Many years later, these memories would appear again and again in her music, giving her songs a real, heartfelt connection to rural life and ordinary people. Born deep in the rugged Great Smoky Mountains of Great Smoky Mountains, Dolly Parton grew up surrounded by hardship, but also by love, faith, and the powerful spirit of family. Life was far from easy. Her family had very little money, and everyday survival often required sacrifice, patience, and strong determination. Yet, even in those difficult moments, young Dolly discovered comfort in the simple beauty of mountain life, the warmth of church gatherings, and the sound of music filling their small home. The songs she heard and the stories shared around her shaped her dreams from an early age. While many people saw only poverty in the mountains, Dolly saw inspiration, purpose, and endless possibilities. Her bright imagination and fearless ambition pushed her to dream far beyond the hills where she was raised. Right after graduating from high school in Tennessee, she made a bold decision that would change her life forever. With determination in her heart, she left for Nashville, chasing a dream that would eventually transform her into one of America's most admired and unforgettable entertainment legends. So, what do you think about Dolly's tragic experience? Do you think she will stand on her feet to perform on the stage? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.